y'all, so the divination wizard was seduced by the beef, so it looks like session's canceled.
Fucking shit.
What?
Fuck.
The beef?
My God.
Beef?
Oh, no, I can't. I don't want to
Yeah, you know, like Metal Gear Solid with Code Tucker and how he was seduced by a hamburger.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
Oh,
I hate everything.
Hell yeah. All right, well, as y'all can probably hear, Sam's back from the warp.
God, it's been a
No,
long
he was
fucking
in
time,
astral
hasn't it?
space. Remember, he was looking for the Spelljammer rules, which, by the way,
Yeah, he's been a few places.
He did not find them. Just so
Nope.
we're all clear, they
I
don't
didn't even know
exist.
that I was searching for them.
Huh?
lol.
I didn't even know that I was searching for them. That's how bad they didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wait, Josh, I actually did find one mechanic that we were looking for.
Oh,
The encounters. They're in the monster book.
what do you mean the encounters?
Like, you know, one of the things that people were like, God, I wish there was like a table for like random encounters and stuff for like all the monsters in like the running the game.
Wait, all right, wait, okay, hold on. Wait, pause.
Hey,
Let's get through introductions first. So,
Nah,
true,
it's
true,
a
true,
little
true,
late now.
fuck
a
it.
little bit.
So, you know, it's me, your boy. I'm with Sam,
Hi, how you doing? Hi, how
Matt,
are you?
What up?
and Josh.
I am also here, comrade.
I know I did this in reverse
Oh.
order, but just because Sam's
We're
back.
all also here.
Is this the Russian episode that Matt has been begging
No,
for?
no,
Yes.
it's not.
Start playing national anthem.
Oh my
Dice,
God.
the communal dice.
Holy fuck.
Yes. Spreading chaos the second I get back.
Yep.
My FBI agent just emailed me. Hold on.
Sam's a fucking Eldritch Fae.
Listen, I've had a month, all right? I don't know
know.
how to explain it.
No, I know.
Yeah, this
glad
last
you're
month has been wild. I'm glad to be back too. Well, what's our subject before I start recounting the last month of my life?
I was gonna get into that. All right, boys. So
it's the Spelljammer rules and why they don't exist.
yeah, no, if only.
Well, they
kidding,
were in the
I'm kidding.
warp, so like, you
Yeah,
know.
no, I know.
Bam.
Yeah, they got lost somewhere next to the deity of Garugamesh that Sam was trying to make.
Garugamesh.
Yeah, see, he didn't make him.
Christ.
All right, boys. So this is gonna be another GM centric one, as we are all the Dungan masters,
Yes.
and we have players to deal with pretty much on the reg.
Yes.
This one, as you can probably tell, because I'm running this episode at least, has to do with world building and world building adjacent. And the question is, how much collaboration do y'all do with your players for your game? And what I mean by that is, like, do you let your players go buck wild with their backstory insofar as it's like, okay, I made a faction, I made a group of people, I made several NPCs, they all have backstory. Do you let them go hard in the motherfucking paint with shit like that? Or do you tell them, like, okay, these are the people you know, this is the factions you're part of, XYZ, whatever. And how far do you let the collaboration with your players go, if at all?
I guess,
But
I don't know. Do you want to do either
Generally,
you
when
guys
you
want to
do
go
something
first?
like that, you throw it to someone. I say,
Nah,
"Where's
it's
the
fine.
ball?
This is
Where's
like
the
the,
ball?"
it's like
No,
a
no,
wedding, you
no,
know,
no,
he throws
no
the
balls.
bouquet, whoever
We- we-
I
catches
mean,
it, they
I
can go
just kind of
first.
wanted your general, because this is kind of a generalized topic, right? It's
I'm diving for the talking stick. Hello, hi, it's me.
Okay,
yeah,
Sam,
you
Sam, take the
went for
stick.
the
Take
dive?
the stick.
I've taken the stick.
I
It's
don't know
mine.
what I'm saying.
You can't have it.
Okay.
So I guess I should start off with it depends on if I'm running a homebrew or if I'm running a pre-written adventure, because pre-written adventures I prefer not to let people go crazy with their backstory, because like
If it's pre-written, fuck you.
what I'm trying not to say that. No, it just you know, unless someone knows the like the material already, you know, it's kind of hard to make something that meshes well with it. But if they already know it or they've read it, it kind of kills the vibe, you know, because unless they're like, oh, like bringing up, you know, Descent to Avernus, like Cardell's character, or I should say his second character, was connected to the plot in some way. Now, I don't know how much he knew, but like him connecting it to a specific
he
NPC
knew.
that already exists. Okay.
He did the wiki deep dive for that one.
Okay. Well, either way, like, you know, it can ruin certain moments if the player is not careful. But like in a homebrew campaign, I don't really care all that much as long as they're willing to sit down and talk to me about it. Cause like I would rather work that through than be like, yeah, sure, I'll just accept your work, because then I got to think about your work in comparison to my work. And then, you know, my work's quality can be completely different than yours. Not to say that I'm a fantastic writer and everybody else is shit. Like, I'm not.
So what I'm hearing is this just in: Sam hates his players. He doesn't give a shit what you do.
I would say I'm more nonchalant about what you do than I don't give a shit, because I like to work with players to tell the story rather than fucking be like, you know, fuck you. You're here's the railroad. Go ride on it.
I'm going to interpret this like Twitter and stick with you hate your players.
Listen, Twitter is a wonderful place to be misunderstood and say one thing and then it's just, oh, so you fucking hate children. Just trying to find something that wasn't extremely offensive.
Sam hates children. He actually kicks
That's
kids.
him, officer. Get him. Cancel him right there. He's under the thing that says session's canceled. It's literally in the name.
Every session, one of us gets canceled.
Sam actively, he grabs strollers and tips them over with children in them.
Wait, hold on. That's actually kind of funny.
Just go to a mall, just sees a child, kicks like the crib.
Just so we're clear, internet, this is a joke.
No,
listen,
our statements are fact.
That requires them to listen far enough to hear you say it's a joke. They might just take us take us down, you know.
True.
But yeah, no, I think it's reasonable to say that I will work with you on your backstory. Matt can attest to this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you want to sit down for a couple hours with your character's backstory, I might be like, all right, Holmes, you're gonna need to like block out some time specifically for us, and then you're gonna tell me when you're good, because I will plan nothing.
I will plan.
Like, Mr. DM, I wrote a novel. May you read it? No.
Yeah, if you send me a novel, I'll be like, I will get back to you.
What if you're DMing for Brandon Sanderson?
Oh, God. I don't even know. Yeah. He's like, I actually wrote 4 books. Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, if you write me a novel, I'll be like, hey, listen, can you condense this into fucking Spark Notes?
Please.
I don't need to know about the girth of your father's schlong, you know? Schlong loins, you know?
Why would a player know
I don't
about the
know.
girth of their father's schlong?
He does the Drax thing from Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's like, my father used to retell the time he fucking fucked my mom and I was born.
Yeah,
oh my God.
That's why. Yeah, that's why.
Ugh.
And it's in your backstory because
yeah, and it's in your backstory because it's a story that you constantly remember. Yeah. And that's why you're so good at slinging schlong, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's why you're so good at slinging schlong.
Well,
it's like
thank you,
strike.
But
God, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I already look. I feel like I'm one of the people that keeps this fucking podcast in control when someone else is hosting. So when I'm here, there's no control.
Yeah, right.
Other than Josh, but he is obviously being overpowered
at the moment
by the absolute state of the clownery.
I had a lot of chaotic energy I needed to release today. You saw that earlier when I was talking about. I came up with a name for the Subway podcast. It's Subcasters. Don't steal that, audience. You're not allowed. I'm copyrighted, trademarked. It's ours.
Did I tell you guys? So the previous podcast that I was a part of, it was called The Salt Factory. And like 4 or so years ago, a YouTuber came up with that name. He does like video game analysis, and his name was Salt Factory. And I was like, damn. That's crazy.
Damn, bro, that's wild.
Yeah, he was like, damn, bro, that's wild. Oh, God.
But yeah, no, I'm just riding the chaos train. That's all.
Yeah, it's good chaos train today. I just came back from the warp. I need to, release it somewhere.
Anyway, Sam, what the fuck were you talking about?
How I like to work with my players on things, but like if you're going to require a lot of time, I would prefer if you scheduled it with me versus me scheduling it with you, because I'm mostly free. But if like someone approaches me before you even say something, I will not be free. That's just how it be.
All right. Yeah, that's Sam. What else, y'all? Who wants the talking stick next?
I'll. Yeah, okay, Josh, you made a noise. Here's your stick.
Nice.
No, I mean, I was gonna say that was such a broad question that I don't really have an answer, because I don't know. That was just really broad, and I feel like we need to get down to more specifics before I could really have anything.
You don't have like a top of your head, like quick little like.
I mean, I do it. Like, yes, I do it. Like, I don't know. Is that the answer to the question?
Well, yeah, that was part of it, right? Because the question is, do you do it?
I mean, does anyone not? Though? Like, does anyone? Is there anyone out there who basically just ignores everything their players say?
Absolutely.
Well, like, I mean, to me, this isn't like a negative, but if it's like, oh, like my character is part of like this thieves guild, and the GM
I thought you were
goes,
going to say the Kure clan.
oh my god, I am looking at a gif of fucking, it's not Kengan Ashura, but it's Jujutsu Kaisen. It's just Gojo punching someone in the face repeatedly. It's very good.
Man, that has nothing to do with anything.
He said Kure clan. He put me out. Look, this is not my fault. I'm not a crook.
That's not the same. It's not the same anime, but okay.
Anyway, no, but if you're part of like a thieves guild and the GM's like, okay, so that's cool. So here are some NPCs that you would know. Here's like the rules of the thieves guild. Like if the GM's already got that shit planned and they hand it to you, like that's not ideal. But I wouldn't call that like a dick move. I would just say maybe there's some over preparedness on the GM's part.
That's one really specific example. But your question was just, do you collaborate? Period.
Yeah,
which is not. You the thing you just said was like, do you collaborate on specific backstory things or whatever? But like, do you collaborate? Period. Is the answer ever going to be no? Ever?
I mean, maybe like because I do want to hear like a general. Yeah,
I find that very hard to believe.
Well, yeah, because
I've heard horror stories, my guy.
I guess
it's a thing.
Like for me, like I'll just jump in and yes, a good amount. I don't know if I do a 50-50, but I do a healthy amount, like both pre and during a campaign. Like, my big thing, hey guys, it's me, it's your favorite, guy over here, Percy Glaxon, steal everything. If your players give you ideas, make them a part of your world, make them a part of your game. Like a tabletop, game
but again,
is collaborative.
Doesn't
it's a team game.
Doesn't everyone do that? I don't know.
I would hope so, but who knows? There might be someone out there who's like, no, I never use any of my players' idea. It's my world. I built it.
I guess the point.
Yeah, I mean, like the question is generic, but I was hoping that you would like, oh yeah, I do it X amount. Like it was sort of supposed to be a jumping off.
I mean, the point I'm making is the question feels like such a given that I feel like I can't really have anything. I don't have anything to add until we get into specifics.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Good.
Yes, I do it. Percentages, I don't know. An amount, it fucking depends. It doesn't really matter.
Right, because I didn't even think of I'm like, how much of a percentage? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think it's 50-50, but I can't really say if it's like 70-30, 60-40.
I get what you're saying. I was kind of looking. I mean, I think Sam sort of hit it on the head. It's like, it depends if I'm like how much, if I'm doing pre-mades, if I'm doing homebrews. Like obviously one's going to get more than the other. That's kind of what I was looking for.
It can't be like, players like, oh, hey DM, can I have a thing that my dad's sword that he gave me and it's a Vorpal sword? Can I just have a Vorpal sword? And it's like, all right, Chief, no, but I'm willing to work with you to eventually you can get that Vorpal sword. Like, let's say right now it's just a sword. It just looks like a Vorpal sword. It's not actually a Vorpal sword.
I feel like we need to. I don't know. Maybe we'll do this.
You want examples?
No. I was just gonna say. I feel like I need a definition on what we mean, because like the example Matt just gave doesn't. When you say collaboration, I don't think of the example Matt just gave. That is like, not collaborating, but
compromising.
Discussing, compromising, right? Like
Well,
collaborating.
that's a part of it. That's a part of the collaboration because there could be ideas that you want to do as a DM that your players aren't going to like. There are ideas your players want to do that you aren't going to like. And so there has to be a little bit of collaboration in there and a little bit of discussing, but collabing as in like what I think Isaiah more so wants to go into is world building. I just threw the Vorpal Sword idea just out there as a general example.
I think okay.
It's not a world building example.
Right.
It's just
I feel like we need to hone in a little bit because the example you just gave, Matt, when Isaiah said collaborating, my brain goes to like, collaborating on backstory and collaborating on setting. The thing you're talking about is like collaborating about like weird requests.
Well,
the thing I
think it is backstory.
It is backstory. That is world building.
I specifically said my father's sword.
I guess, yeah.
Sorry, it's backstory.
But like a player asking for an OP item feels like a different problem. You know what I mean?
Right. I used it as an example. Anyways, Isaiah, world building. Let's focus in.
I feel like I need some definitions. Like, what do you mean specifically, Isaiah? Maybe that's where we should start.
You literally hit it on the head. Like, I don't know how else to. Like,
which part?
How
I said a lot of shit.
I guess I don't know. How much world building do you do with your players, or vice versa? How much impact do they have on the setting itself? And like, how much do you assist with their backstory? Do you just let them hit at you with it full force, and then you try to work around it? Like,
I mean,
hell, like, do they have effects on the mechanics of the game?
I mean, mechanics? No, fuck off.
No, okay.
That's not true.
I was just saying. I mean,
that's not entirely true.
You literally did.
I will postulate ideas I have for mechanical changes and or homebrew and stuff like that, and I will put forth like, how about X or Y thing? But I'm gonna weigh my opinion. Like, I'm gonna put much more. Let's put it this way: if I have an idea for a mechanic I want to do, you as the player, it's a little bit more of an uphill battle for you to convince me otherwise, because I'm probably putting it there to help with my enjoyment in some fashion. Like, personally, the only time I ever do any kind of homebrewy shit like that is to help with my enjoyment of running, Like, I'm not just gonna throw in homebrew just to be like, oh, this is annoying, or oh, I just don't want to deal with X or what. Like, the only time I'm gonna do it is I'm like, this will make things actively more interesting / more fun for me and or other people. So I will weigh my own opinion of it more heavily. But if all 4 of the players are like, this is a terrible idea, can we please not do it? I'll be like, I guess if all 4 of you say no, then sure, no, we won't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I consider that collaboration though. Like, you're putting forth because you could just say we're doing this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's mechanical collaboration. That's what I mean. Like, there's subsets of collaboration, right? So I feel like maybe we should go through each one, right? Because you have world building, you have backstory, then you have mechanical stuff, right? Like, those are kind of 3 big ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here. I'm talking and thinking at the same time.
Yeah. I have a couple stuff from like mechanics to backstory shit I've done throughout my games. I don't know if anybody wants to like kind of like jot down something first, but I have a couple.
Matt, writing? Are you out of your fucking mind? I'm not writing anything down.
What? No,
he can't read, so he doesn't write.
Yeah, correct.
I said I jotted shit down. So
what is this? What is this jotting? What is this writing you speak of? This sounds.
Anywho's, and so yeah, for world building, so like as an example, I guess just for backstory shit, in my last campaign, one of my players is a monk. So obviously with monks, it's like, do they have a monastery? And it's like, oh yeah, sure. He specifically, because he was a shadow monk, he asked, he's like, hey, can they be a monastery of shadow monks? And then he came up with this idea on his own of like, I want their main goal to be like, they go out into the world, they find magic items like artifacts, dangerous shit, and basically they just, they hide them away from society because they don't want bad guys or anybody like doing anything with these powerful artifacts and magic items that can like warp reality and change the world for the, for the worse. I'm like, that's a really cool idea. And so he gave me that idea, and then I took that and I made it into part of the main like campaign story where the players are looking for these MacGuffin items, and I made it that one of them was there, and they had to get information from the monastery that they can only get from there because the player's backstory, it's, these guys would know all about the magic items. They would know what the bad guys are doing because this place houses all these, dangerous items. So, that kind of shit. Like that affected my entire campaign, and it all came from this one player's idea in his backstory.
All right.
I don't know if anybody else had something happen to them like that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's like a normal thing in campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, like I figured it is pretty normal. Like the question is mostly how far you were willing to go with it, because I know like for a few of my players, like specifically for one of the players who didn't give me a backstory until 2.5 years in, I had to literally sit him down and be like, okay, what makes your character tick? And I basically did it with him. Like, why is your character here? What were they doing 10 years ago? And like, it was like this really cool, like almost jam session of like, okay, yeah. And then that, and then that, and then that. And while the effects of how much that collaboration, oh wow, really bad voice crack. The effects of that collaboration might not be necessarily super far reaching or super deep as far as the like world lore goes, but it does affect things in a pretty big way, especially retroactively.
Yeah. I mean, it can. It's, I guess, I mean, as far as like how far I'm willing to go with it, I mean, as long as as long as it's not the sort of thing that will just like upend all of the pre-established rules, I'm fine with like adding things, because most of the time, usually the way I've seen it go, it's not like what's a good like, it's not usually a scenario where a player is trying to fuck with something that you've already established, right? Like, usually what happens is GM says, this is the game, this is the setting, this is what we're doing, and then the player will be like, okay, I'm gonna slot this idea into what you have put before me.
Right, like you're playing a low magic game and you want to play a wizard. Right? You're like, there's no magic in the setting. And it's like, but I want to be the magic man.
I'm talking about the opposite of that.
Oh, the opposite.
What I'm saying is most of the time what players do is, we're playing a low magic setting. Okay, cool. Can I play like a druid who's got this like shamanistic bent, so it's less magic, more whatever. Usually players don't try to upend things that much. They'll usually slot in between the gaps. For example, with my current game, I was like, all right, this is the setting, blah, blah, blah. And then Sam was like, can I play a changeling? And initially I was like, I don't know if I have an idea. But then because Sam sort of slotted in where there was a gap, because I didn't really have any predisposed ideas about, like, I didn't have any set ideas about changelings. So Sam sort of slotted into an empty gap. And then we kind of filled in from there. That's usually how it goes. And that kind of stuff, fine. The only time it becomes a problem is when you're doing the thing where, by the way, there's no issue with playing a wizard in a low magic is not no magic. You can play a wizard in a low magic setting. That's a whole other discussion though, so I'm not going to go down that one. But the only time it becomes a problem, and the only time I'm going to say, if not no, I'm going to say no, I'm going to have a bit more struggle with it, is if you're like, I guess I'll just use my setting because it's easiest. I'm trying not to, but it's easier. If you have a player who tries to do something that just is completely anathema to the plan, right? So like in my setting, I'm like, all right, cool. All the gods are dead. There was a war. You're sort of in a post-apocalypse scenario. All the gods fighting and killing each other. And then one of the players comes in and is like, can I worship Zeus? I'm like,
Can I play an Azamar?
No.
Can I be in Dragonborn Azamar?
Okay,
Josh?
well, Azamar was Azamar's a bad example because there are Azamar in my setting, but that's neither here nor there.
Sorry, my bad.
But it's that kind of thing where you're like, oh, there's no this in my setting, and then the player goes, I want to play the thing you just said doesn't exist.
Right.
Those kind of statements are where I'm less willing to collaborate because now I kind of feel like you're just taking the piss, you know?
Yeah.
Right? Like, or for example,
what's the new race? Yordle, right? Or
what?
What's the animal-headed
Yordle.
thing?
Yordles are from League.
Oh, shit.
Ardlings.
Ardling. Yeah, Yordle. You know, I'm just going to call him that from now on.
Not even close. You know, it'd be like if in Isaiah's game, Isaiah's like, all right, we're playing a post-apocalypse game, and then one of the players was like, can I be a D&D wizard from another dimension? And you're just like,
do you mean fucking Luna being like, oh yeah, so what I guess, can I play a vampire? I was like,
yeah, that, exactly.
No,
right.
No, Luna, you can't play a fucking vampire.
There's a great video by Seth Zorskowski who made it. They're called the Seventh Warrior. It's basically, there's a person who just
I know
doesn't belong in the campaign, like a character. They made it specifically against it, so it's like the example he used was the 13th Warrior movie, where it's like, all right, you're all Vikings and you're gonna go out and hunt for grog and all this stuff, and the one guy's like, I want to play a pacifist monk who doesn't speak the language, and it's like, what why are you hanging out with these fucking what?
Yeah, that kind of shit, right? That's when my willingness to collaborate goes dramatically down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would for most people.
Caveat, I will say this. Unless you come to me with a really good idea, right? Like, I feel like I've said this before, but if it's the kind of thing where you're like, all right, listen, GM, I really want to play a cleric of Zeus. I know you said all the gods are dead. Hear me out. What if my character is like deranged and thinks Zeus is real and really thinks all their powers are coming from Zeus, but it's actually not, and won't believe otherwise?
Wait, Josh, can I throw an idea out there?
What?
What if he's a time traveler?
No, I don't like that one. No, I don't like that one.
He literally
I'm from
hates
the
time
past.
travel.
I came to the future, and now I gotta travel back to the past. Samurai Jack.
Oh my god.
No. But like, you know, it's the kind of thing where it's like, if you come to me with a really strong idea and you show that you're willing to, like, you know, fit the puzzle piece, I'm more willing to have a conversation about it, you know? But most players don't do that, or a lot of people don't do that most of the time, because usually, this is the thing, right? A lot of the time when you have that player who's like, I want to play the elf cleric, even though you said elves don't exist in this setting, that player's just doing it to take the piss a lot of the time, or they don't actually give a shit. They just want to play an elf because they want a certain ability or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of times where it's like, they're not really thinking that deeply about it. They just want to do it. And then,
well, that, or it's like, oh, I've had this OC in my brain for a while, and I'm too lazy to think of a new one.
Right, and I don't want to fit it into your setting. I just want to play my fucking OC. So it's like, that kind of shit, most of the time you'd be like, no player. But if the player comes up and is like, pause. What if this, that, and this? I'm like, all right, I'm listening a little bit more now. You know, show me you're willing to put the effort in, and we can, as the title goes, collaborate on it. Right? Like, you know, I think that's the main. Yeah, as long as it's equally weighted, as long as everyone's putting a little bit of work in, we can chat. But if you're just like, I want to play a vampire in the post-apocalypse because vampire cool, fuck off. Like, sorry, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll pick up the talking stick. The thing that brought this on really was I was thinking about LP's game, like the first game he ran, the Fire Emblem one, and how much collaboration that game, because that game was basically us. Like, you know, when we didn't really have a session 0, but you know, in the days like leading up to it, because you know, 3 of us were literally in the room with each other. It was like, okay, where's your character from? And we basically were like, oh yeah, my character's from this country. This is what their culture is like. This is where it's probably located, like regionally. This is like their organizational structure. Like, I gave him the full notes on my character's kingdom, and he was like, okay, cool. And then he used it, like almost all of it.
Yeah, that's maybe a little crazy for me, personally. I don't know. I don't know if I would leave the door quite that wide open, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think for him it was easy because he was like, you guys are doing the world building. I'm just giving you the things to do.
So almost
I think it was just like a massive.
I was gonna say, so kind of like a West March style campaign where like the players dictate where the campaign's gonna go, and basically they set it up in advance. They're like, all right, guys, GM, like, oh, guys, what do you want to do? And players like, I don't know, let's go fight a mummy in a pyramid. Okay,
well, no.
Next week, that's the adventure.
No, I don't think. I think what Isaiah means is he wasn't letting them choose what happened in the story, but he was letting. Because in a West Marches game, the GM does all the world building up front, like a shitload of it up front. I think what Isaiah is saying is Ant did no world building and then was like, all right, players, go crazy. What's the world like? You know what I mean?
Well, no, he did do world building, but it was like all the big things. It was us. And then he did a lot of the smaller shit.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the fine details was him.
It is
But
also
all
worth
of the
pointing out.
major places and people, places, and things were us.
It is worth pointing out, though, you were playing in a game based off an IP, right? Because it was based on Fire Emblem. So everyone's working in a shared understanding of a space that exists, which is kind of...
Yeah, I mean, that definitely helps.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's a lot easier to come up with stuff as a player if you kind of know the setting already, right? Like, it's easy to come up with ideas for Star Wars characters because you know what Star Wars is and you see the movies and you have like this sort of shared understanding. Whereas it's a little trickier when your GM is making their own world from scratch and you have to try and figure out what you can like do with that. So it does change the context of that a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like, if a GM came out with kind of like just like a sheet of like, okay, it's all on you guys, do what you want, but you have to follow these guidelines, right? So it's like, oh, your character's place cannot be the continent of the world, right? Like, you guys are there has to be multiple cities, there's gonna be multiple places, multiple things to do. You can't be the child of the king, shit like that, and then you sort of build around that.
Yeah, but that's just like restrictions. That doesn't necessarily help a player come up with ideas. The thing about saying we're all playing in Fire Emblem setting, it gives players lots of ideas because they all go, oh, well, we've all played Fire Emblem. We know kind of what to expect, you know?
Kind of. Fire Emblem is a lot like Final Fantasy, where it's like kind of a shared universe. Like, there are simple concepts that are basically the same, but all the expanded stuff's completely different.
Right, but for example, that there's no lightsabers in Fire Emblem, right? So like nobody's gonna come up with a character that wields a lightsaber. There's no modern day rifles in the setting, so nobody's gonna come up, right? Like there's rules that become quickly and easily established when you have an IP you're already basing everything off of. That becomes a little trickier when your GM is making the setting. You know,
I suppose.
So
yeah.
It's easier. My point is that it's a lot easier to say to your players, "Hey, you make the setting for me." If there's an established IP you're starting with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
I
I've
do
done the
understand
opposite. I've done the thing where I've said, "Players, you make the setting for me," and there was no established IP, and it took forever and it was really messy. Because I tried to do a D&D campaign where that's basically how we started, and I gave them like a couple of notes and then was like, all right, players, go buck wild during session 0. And it was kind of a mess, you know, because there's not like because having an established IP lets you like ground things to a certain agreement, you know? It's like an unspoken contract, like, yes, we're all grounding to the same place, so we know kind of what to base things on. And even series have certain tones, certain tropes they tend to hit, right? Like, if you're all playing in Star Wars, you're probably not gonna have your character have an incredibly grisly, like fucked up Watchmen style backstory, because that vibe isn't really the Star Wars vibe. You know, like we all understand kind of what the general tone is for the most part. Obviously, it can ebb and flow. We kind of have an idea of like, all right, this is sort of the tone we're operating in. You know, I don't know enough about Fire Emblem, so I can't really say anything on Fire Emblem specifically, but you know, whatever. If we're all playing Blades in the Dark, then it's much more reasonable to be like, yes, well, my mother was a drug dealer hooker and she got beat while she was pregnant with me, so now I'm kind of fucked up in the head. Like,
what the fuck,
yeah,
bro?
I went dark on purpose. My point is,
Jesus Christ.
My point is in that game, that makes more sense. Whereas if you had that backstory in a Star Wars game, everyone would be like, whoa, Jimbo, what you doing there, buddy? Calm down. That's a little too dark. You know what I mean? So it's collaborating when you have an IP to work off of. It like it's almost like a cheat code. You know what I mean? It's
that
like
goes with pre-written adventures as well.
Yeah,
like,
right. Pre-written's the same thing. Yeah.
It's a very established setting, and like there's a lot of knowledge around it. You know, especially with like Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, because pre-written's, yeah, you're just like, oh, I just use the Forgotten Realms. Cool.
Yeah. So like, you know, characters like Triss that exist.
Also, you have oodles and oodles of wikis to dive into.
I know, right?
If you're, you know, in the mood.
Homebrew's definitely a little different. Like, I definitely rewrote a lot of my pre-existing vampire lore with Matt when he was like, yeah, so can I be the daughter of X? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? Because like, it wouldn't affect the story immediately, but it would definitely have implications later down the line. And it has come up. Not necessarily like in your guys' part of the campaign, but you know, it's around.
It's around. It's there.
It's around. It's popped up. It's not like it hasn't been mentioned or said. And like, I think it also like depends on the style of game as well, because like Vampire the Masquerade and all the other games done by White Wolf kind of expect you to do that. And again, like, it's a very established setting, but like it doesn't mean you as the DM or the storyteller can't make tweaks to the setting to be like, hey, you know, it's like this, but also this exists as well, you know.
I'm just imagining now, it's like, all right, guys, we're going to run Vampire the Masquerade. However, in downtown Chicago, there's just a giant tower, like a dungeon tower. And all the vampires go up and fight, and like, I'm changing the setting. It's like, why?
Fight Club?
Yeah, Fight Club, Vampire Fight Club. Vampire Fight Club Tower. And it's like, why? Why are you doing this?
I don't know, because it's fun.
Yeah,
It actually that kind of reminds me, if we're talking, it's kind of collaboration, it's kind of not. It's like a short story. In the game that was run by the same dude who did the Wildmount game that I was in, I very specifically, like, I made a college tar, and I wrote like a kind of like just like a system on how like a college tar is made. And he was like, oh, that's really cool. And I was like, oh, that's sick. And then that game ended because of just a fucking myriad of issues. And in his next game, which took place in Wildmount, he like used that system for how he just did college tar, like moving forward. And that was really cool. I was really hyped for that.
That's cool.
Did he mention that to you, or did he just swipe that shit?
No, I mean, he swiped it. I didn't give a shit though, because I played in the Wildmount game. So he like, when a college tar came up and he described it literally like the same way that my college tar character was, I was like, oh, that's fucking sick. And I texted him, I was like, oh, nice. Like, you're using that thing that I did. And he was like, yeah, it's really good. I'm going to keep using it. I was like, oh, nice. Hell yeah, dude.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
That shit got me
Maybe
hype as a
I'm
muff.
being a little pessimistic, but I feel like that would have wigged me out a little bit.
Why?
If I didn't know ahead of time. I don't know. That feels a little weird to put like, oh, a player came up with this cool idea, I'm just going to steal it for my world permanently, but not inform them or mention it at all. I don't know. That just feels weird to me.
Well, I mean,
I was in the session where it came up, so like,
Yeah.
he kind of did mention it.
I guess.
And like, it's not like a thing I'm married to. Like,
it's
No,
make believe.
yeah, no, I know. It's not like a big deal. It's not like you fucking, plagiarize your novel or some shit, but it I don't know. That just feels a little funky to me. I don't know. I just feel like I would have at least mentioned or asked, like,
No, I mean, it's fine. Like, it's each their own. I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, obviously. It's just, I don't know. When you said it, my brain was immediately like, interesting. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's fine to have a knee-jerk like that, right? Because you're like, right, it's the idea of like, well, you didn't tell me you were going to use it. And, you know, for 90% of things, I think you're like completely in the right to be like, that's a little sketch, bro. But, you know, I know him, and like I trusted him enough to not be like, this is totally my idea. Because had he done that, I would have just been like, no, it isn't. Like,
right? Yeah, I mean,
I would have shut that shit down mid-session.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's funny. That's kind of collaboration in the opposite direction, which is interesting, and does happen, obviously, as Matt and Sam just explained. Although I feel like that happens significantly less. Right? That's just me.
Like where the player comes up with an idea and the GM's like, yes.
Yeah, where like the player is the one. Like, I feel like players tend to make less declarative statements and like slide it across the table at the GM than the other way around.
Sometimes.
It
depends if you're like asking for feedback or like, you're asking players for, because
if you're asking for feedback,
let me finish my sentence. Feedback or ideas, like one of my players in the Strixhaven game, because we're doing Magic the Gathering, he threw out the idea of like, hey Matt, because Magic the Gathering is all about plane shifting and plane jumping and shit. He's like, can we go visit other planes? And I'm like, I wasn't thinking about that, but then like, I'm like, well, it'd be cool with the setting, and now we're gonna do it. Now we're gonna hop to other worlds, and that was just an idea he threw out there. And I'm like, I never thought of it. And I'm like, now it makes sense, and it's so easy for me to just be like, yeah, you guys go to a different world, and I can just do that because it's a giant planes like shifting setting. So, that I don't know. I feel like that was like a cool thing that he just like randomly said. He's just like, oh, maybe we can do this. Like, go to visit different worlds and all this shit. And use what are they called? The plane shift PDFs that Wizards of the Coast made. Like, way long ago.
All the Magic the Gathering ones that came out 5 ever ago and then they buried.
Basically, yeah. Like, I still have them all. So I'm like, yeah, we can go to Amonkhet or Innistrad or whatever the fuck.
Can we talk about how weird that was? Like, those books came out. They exist. Why were they buried deeper than the catacombs? Like,
they didn't bury them so much as they just kind of ignore they exist. They just don't talk about them.
Right, because it was like testing out, like, are players gonna like that if we put Magic the Gathering in our D&D? Are players gonna like it? And enough players thought it was cool enough. Also, they were having, because I had to look up this shit for Magic the Gathering lore, there was a big lore, like, Avengers Infinity War style event going on at the same time. Oh yeah, when all those plane ships were coming out.
Yeah, isn't that when they kicked Nico Bolas's ass? Wasn't that like the big thing?
That whole deal.
That's when they brought.
So that was coming out at the same time. So it was like this big collaboration. They're like, oh, let's just put in D&D and maybe we'll get people to play Magic the Gathering from D&D and vice versa. And I guess enough people thought it was a positive thing that now they're doing it. And it's like, we have Ravnica, we got Theros, we got Strixhaven. God knows what the fuck else is coming out in the future.
Nothing at the moment. All the new releases are non-Magic related that are on the way. I think the funnier thing is not them ignoring the Magic books. It's the fact that they ignore Sword Coast and Elemental Evil. Those 2 books they're like ashamed of.
True. It's weird. The Princes of the Apocalypse stuff, like, those monsters are really cool. Like, the like high level elemental titans. Those things are sick.
I have no idea.
They're cool boss monsters if you want to.
Like the Elder Tempest, the Ibriex, like the giant. It's literally a wall of fire. It's just like a mountain made of fire. It's so cool.
I have never seen these.
The Zeraton, the giant, like, it's literally the Adamantoise from 15. It's just a turtle the size of a fucking mountain.
Big turtle.
Well, no. So
Dragon
those
Turtle.
are in Tomb of. Oh my God, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes,
Oh, are they?
and then the ones that the evil elemental ones. So there's like there's two different types. There are the regular powerful elementals in Tome of Foes,
Here comes the lore.
and then there are the ones in the Princes of the Apocalypse that are the bad princes. Those are the bad guys. And so like for Tome of Foes, you have the Phoenix for the fire one, and then for the Princes of the Apocalypse, you have the Wall of Fire with a giant frowny face on it.
Yeah, I love this game.
Yeah.
I'm pulling a picture of it for Josh.
They all eight monsters are sick. Some of them are just like, I could throw like any of them in my game. One of them is specifically supposed to be probably an end game fight.
Yeah, I put I put the Adamantoise thing in my game as like a
That's a lot of fire.
Fire
it's not-
Angie.
really a
And you fire.
it wasn't a boss as much as it was just like an environmental thing.
Yeah,
'Cause the
those
char-
are always, yeah.
Yeah,
those are
because
always cool.
a character Paladin was looking for like a way to make a rocket punch for his robot arm. So I was like, oh, this creature secretes like a natural oil from its body that is like really explosive because I figured it's a mountain, right? Like it probably like just sweats petroleum.
That's so gross.
Yeah, it's pretty grody. But yeah, I was like, it's a massive fucking turtle, and they were like, what?
It's like, can we ride the turtle? Can we have it, take us to our destination? It's like, yeah, it'll get you there in about a year.
Can we ride the turtle? Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Actually, I kind of wanted to backtrack just like a little bit. It's really funny, Josh, that you said that the sort of reverse collab doesn't happen so much, and I feel like, personally speaking, I feel like I do that a lot, but it's always pretty small scale as far as I'm concerned. Like, trying to like, what was a good one that I did recently, where I was like, oh, like this is kind of just how this works in the setting. There was the. God, no, I'm blanking. Are you fucking kidding me? God damn it.
I don't know what you.
Was there something in Avernus that you did, or like another?
Kinda, yeah. Like, I remember in Avernus, Paz had like a bit where he was kind of explaining how like things in Avernus worked, and like I know some of the lore for Avernus. Like I was reading the wiki a lot during that game, but it was
As
a
you
lot
do.
of like, yeah. I was. If you had asked me while we were playing Avernus, like who the big players are, what's going on, how the plane works, how to get to Dispater, I could have told you all that. I just knew, like off the top of my head. Oh, a good one was like how Mahadi was, like, because Mahadi is like, he's gentlemanly, but he's also pretty snide, or not snide. He's very sneaky. And I remember very specifically, and maybe Sam, this was you just being like, I like this idea, or you like had already thought about this, but it was like, oh yeah, like Mahadi can he will rip you off unless you like show coin up front, like show him that you're willing to pay, and then he'll be better to you, versus being like, how much do I owe you? You just walk up, throw the cash on the table, and he'll be like, what am I getting for this?
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, you guys are here to do real business. I see. And then he kind of treated us a little bit better.
What's this gold nonsense? Get this shit out of here. Ooh, soul coins. Now we're
Soul
talking.
coins, the thing that only I could carry.
My favorite was Matt. I have 0 con. Picks it up.
Nice.
Yeah, Paz threw a coin at him. He's like, hey, catch.
Oh
Literally
god.
couldn't carry 1 coin. Shake my head.
God damn.
Oh, good times. Good times.
Yeah, I feel like I try to do that, or maybe not try. I end up doing that quite a bit, I feel, just because it's I think it's the way that I do backstories, where I don't really write a lot of it down. Like I'll just, like I said, I think I said this really early on in the podcast, but it's more interesting when the backstories just sort of pop up when the situation arises. So I think I gave the idea of like, oh, like my wife used to make this like meal that I really like. And it's like, where's your wife? And it's like, well, where is she? That's certainly a question. I'll tell you where she's not.
She's
Alive.
not right here, baby. Hey.
Yeah.
And then you guys are in a tavern in like some far off country. She is actually like an owner of a tavern. She faked her death. You get the meal, and then out of nowhere, you got your eyes lock up. And you're like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, I
Cool
feel
sword
like
modes.
I do or try to do that a lot. I wonder if that's like an annoyance to GMs.
I
don't know.
I'm
I mean, I think
I'm
it's
willing to
cool.
admit it probably is for a few people.
Maybe.
maybe. I mean, I don't care. It is worth
Yeah,
pointing out.
no.
Yes, you definitely do that, Isaiah, but you're a way more proactive player than a lot of players are. So you're, I think, more of the exception than the rule.
Fair enough.
Which, you know, it happens. It's not like a good or a bad. It's just a thing.
Yeah, no, it wasn't supposed to be like, oh, look how good I am, because that's really not at all. It just was like I wonder how much it is done, and you know, I'm the only real like case study that I know for a fact.
I mean, if you are a GM getting annoyed by something like that, I don't understand why you. It just seems really silly to get annoyed by something like that, because generally, you know, I can't think of any situation where this wouldn't be the case. Generally, if your player is doing that, it means they give enough of a shit about the game in question to think about it, you know, outside of the normal stuff, right? Like,
Right.
if your player is coming to you either during or between sessions with like lore ideas or ideas about a character or something, that means they're probably thinking about the game outside of just when you're at the table, and they give enough of a shit to like have an influence on things. So it seems really silly to get annoyed by something like that if you are getting annoyed by something like that as a GM.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
the
I
only
agree.
time I can think of people getting annoyed is if you're like at a convention, you know, and they're doing like the Adventure
yeah,
League
that's
tables.
different.
And it's like, yeah, we don't have time for your backstory.
You don't got time to
sir.
fuck around.
Yeah. It's like, we got 4 hours to kill this goblin boss. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
I don't care about your dad. I don't care about your long lost father who
I
got
mean,
killed by goblins.
goblins
If you're-
killed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're playing at a convention, you're probably not playing to you know, have a great long-winded story about your character.
I would hope
you're playing
not.
you're playing to fight a boss, essentially. Like,
Yeah,
You know,
I would hope.
I've
like
heard.
this.
Sorry, go on.
No. You've heard.
I was just gonna say like, I feel like Adventures League gets a really bad rep, like including some people in our friend group who have never done Adventures League. It seems like kind of fun if you're in the right mindset. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, again, I mind the adventures all the time. They're good adventures. It just depends on the DM. I've had a very bad Adventure League experience, and it kind of soured me on Adventure League for a while. And now it's like, man, if I had the time, I would love to do like an Adventure League thing, or even like sign up to volunteer as a GM. But like, I don't know, that one DM really irked me, and now it's kind of like get the Vietnam flashbacks of that. I'm like, ooh.
do you want to tell? Because I, in all unfortunate, I don't actually remember that story. Do you want to tell that? Because like,
Yeah, so it was an Adventure League thing for when Waterdeep Dragon Heist first came out. So this was a while ago. And the GM, we were running it through Roll20, but it was going to be an official Adventure League, you know, like I guess hosted.
Adventure League
Game?
official game.
Yeah. But there was a couple warning signs where the GM was mostly talking.
Red flags.
Yeah,
I
a lot
love
of red flags. So one of the things the GM kept talking about was like, if he ran a certain amount of games, then he would get awarded, you know, Adventure League points. I don't know what they're actually called. I'm sorry if I'm fucking it up for people
Fun
out
bucks.
there.
They're just fun bucks.
Yeah,
I love
and
fun bucks.
you could spend them to get shit in character.
What?
Because he was talking about, oh, I've run this module so many times already, even though it's only been out for like
Oh yeah, Adventure League
2 months,
is a little
not even.
You can get
Weird.
points for. You can get fun
Yeah,
bucks
and
for your character.
Kind of, and like he was like,
What
if I
the
GM
fuck?
this amount of hours, then I'll get enough to buy powder, basically like black powder, magic black powder in Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and then I can give it to my gunsmith character that I'm playing in another Adventure League game. So he was already like talking just mostly like, man, I can't wait to get this many hours done so I can just go back to actually playing Adventure League. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
yeah,
All
that
right.
sounds awful.
Okay.
Then he completely like, you know, ignored a lot of like, you know, we were, because I didn't understand, like I knew Adventure League. I'm like, all right, it's 3-4 hour time slot. We can't really role play that much, but I try to add a little bit in. And, you know, one of the players was very new to, like, literally, he's like, this is my first game ever. And so I was trying to, like, help him out with his build and make his character sheet. GM was not helping. And I'm like, oh, you could roleplay your character up, you know, give him a silly voice, do whatever. And the GM's like, yeah, I don't care. Then I guess the big thing was in our first session, the GM, I guess spoilers, you fight a were-rat. And in Adventure League rules, if you get bitten by anything that gives you lycanthropy, your character dies. Just flat out, you're dead. You have to make a new character. All that shit. Yeah, it's an Adventure League rule because they don't want anybody to have the lycanthropy like powers.
Oh, okay.
So
that seems
brand new player.
That seems a little extreme, but all right.
Yeah, what the fuck?
But so this brand new player, he gets bitten, and we're like, all right, shit, maybe we can like. Is there anything? Because I read the players. They give you a little PDF of like you can get certain spells if you pay enough gold, and one of them is like remove curse or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, guys. I'm like, my character wouldn't know this, but like maybe we can pool our money together, or maybe we could do some odd jobs and try and cure him. And the GM's like, well, the session's over, so his character's just dead. So we'll see everybody next week. I'm like, whoa, dude, this is his first session, his first character, and he's dead. Like, can we, like, I don't know, make an exception or something? Like, and so the player messaged me. He's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, I literally just put all this shit into my first character. I'm really discouraged on playing D&D. And I told him, like, hey, man, don't worry about it. Just don't change the sheet. Don't do anything. Just be like, hey, this is my first character's long lost brother. He's out for revenge. There you go. And he did it. And we fucking was so happy because he didn't even think about that. And then I left after the second session because the GM's like, we had another problem player that was best friends with the GM, and they were trying to spend their Adventure League bucks together or whatever the fuck.
Oh my god, that sounds.
And he was doing the
terrible.
thing of like, because another thing with Adventure League is you can change your character's like race and class or whatever up to I think level 4.
Oh yeah.
So every session there's got to be a different fucking thing.
What?
Yeah.
So you have to keep the same name, but you can change your race, you can change your class. So one session he was a cleric that wouldn't heal you unless you paid him. Then the second session he was a rogue with a gun that wouldn't help the party unless you paid him. And he also mugged me. Like literally he literally stole the shirt off my character's back.
Oh. Nice.
What?
And I was unconscious, so I couldn't do anything about it.
We love red flag players like that.
Red flag players, red flag GM. But then the thing that kicks, again, this is going to be kind of spoiler-y.
Whatever.
There's a moment in the game where you're face to face at level 1 against the Mind Flayer. Now, the Mind Flayer doesn't actually fight you. He just sends out his what are they called?
Hours.
Yeah, Intellect Devourer. He sends out 1 against you. So imagine, if you will, there's a hallway where on one end is our group. On the other end is the Intellect Devourer. The rogue that changed his class, that was stealing everything, stole the shirt off my back, he was up front. He was standing next to the Intellect Devourer. Do you think the GM was like, man, look at this easy prey right next to me that I can just Intellect Devour?
Oh no.
No. I'm gonna go after Matt, who's playing the barbarian that dumped his intelligence, who's in the back line because he just got rezzed by the new cleric. And he basically forced me to kill another player because I was mind controlled.
We love it.
I would say
We love
just reach through your chat client and choke the GM out.
I said after the game, because afterwards he's like, oh, because one of the players managed to knock me unconscious and then kill the Intellect Devourer, which I don't actually know if that's how that works. I think actually I think you just die. So after the game, I'm like, hey, man, like, yeah, I'm like, hey, man, this isn't working out. Yeah, I'm out. So yeah, that was my very bad Adventure League story. Yeah, and I know, again, I want to give it a chance because I really do like the adventures that I'm reading as a DM that I want to mine. I literally told Josh this a million times that I wanted to run the entire Eberron Adventure League campaign from level 1 to 20 that they made, Oracle of War, but yeah, there's God, I hate saying like there's too many bad DMs out there. Maybe
honestly,
like, I don't know.
Matt, the thing about Adventure League is it's designed to take people who do not have a friend group that plays and give them someone to play with and get them into the game. You, as someone who has an established group and a whole bunch of friends who play D&D, there is literally no reason for you to bother getting into it. Just run your own games and or play in your own games. It's not worth it.
It's also
just
like,
not.
you know, you're basically playing D&D gotcha with your group.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
You're hoping
what
for
you're
that
gonna get
triple
there.
S and you got a D.
Oh my god.
You got that
They don't
D
even have
pull.
D's in those games.
Yeah.
Damn, imagine getting a 1-star servant. Goddamn.
Yeah.
goddamn.
Oh, damn.
Out here playing Angry Matthew.
Although, man,
He's
also
not even 1 star. He got 0.
That's right.
can I also just say side note one, the player who kept changing his character, he might need to be on a list. That might be a psychopath. Because
Look, all I'm saying is
that's
that
weird.
player and the GM, they obviously have never been introduced to the gospel of violence, and maybe, just maybe, they should be.
or perhaps they commit the gospel of violence is what I'm saying.
Not better than I will.
Maybe.
Jesus.
But then also follow up. Man, I hope that didn't just immediately shit the bed for that new player completely.
Yes.
Yeah, I really though.
I tried messaging him like afterwards,
rough.
and he lost contact, and I was like, all right, well, fuck.
Also,
I
man,
hope he's doing well.
what a dick move to be like, hey yo, that barbarian in the back, let's get him. Like,
I'm seriously
what the
like,
fuck?
I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, I can't pass this check, but there's 4 people in front of me.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
Yeah, no, that's a
That's a
douche move.
That's a dick move, bro. Jesus Christ. How did we get on this?
Collaboration.
Yeah, I don't know. Isaiah, reel the fish back in.
All right. What's the
Bro, I don't
fish?
even know how anymore. What the fuck even?
Well, you're in the chair, Overlord. Steer the ship.
I guess.
Yeah.
Now I gotta think. Shit.
Oops. Well, I was gonna say, Sam, do you have any like other besides the vampire thing with me, like games you've run or?
Yeah. Oz's entire character.
Oh hell
There
yeah, dude.
Like, it was quite literally, hey, do you want to work for one of the rulers of Valair? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I was like,
from there.
he was like, so Sam, I kind of want to play an evil character, and he went. Interesting that you say that. I had some ideas. I was like, hell yeah, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good time. It was good. It was good time. Positive entire character, the vampire thing. I can't think of anything else, honestly. Like, I've definitely changed entire encounters around players' backstories because, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. That almost feels like a different.
It's definitely not. It's
not-
not collaboration.
Yeah, it's like a different thing. I don't know what you call it.
It's taking a player's idea and running with it is essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it originates from collaboration, but it's not
Right.
like it's a product of collaboration. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a product
I
as
think
opposed.
it counts.
It's a product, not a process.
Yeah.
That's fair. I do think, because the specific example just came to mind, and also to give Isaiah more time to think about it. I do think the way that the collaboration thing tends to work the best is, well, actually, now that Sam just said that, I guess there's 2 ways that I think it works particularly well. Obviously, these aren't the only 2 ways, but one is like what Sam did, where Isaiah was like, I want to do this thing, and Sam slid him, the journal across the table and was like, read this for me, will you? And you build off like a general statement your player made or like an idea they had. The other thing that I think works really good, particularly if you're on the player side of things, I think this is a good thing to keep in mind, is if you're dealing with your GM's homebrew setting and the GM throws out an idea or throws out something about the homebrew setting that you're like, that's interesting. What if I expanded upon that? And then you and the GM build out that little section that they may or may not have had a lot of ideas about before. But because you're like, I want to play a character connected to that, now your GM sort of, if they're being a good GM, sort of has to expand upon that. And a specific example I'm thinking of is Isaiah for my game was like, I want to play a Warforged. And I was like, well, Warforged are definitely a thing that I was going to have in my setting. They make a lot of sense. It's a very, like, it was easy to make them work. But I didn't have the deep notes about the Warforged, you know? It was like, I had some general ideas. I knew where they came from. I was like, this is kind of what they're associated with. But then Isaiah was like, I want to play a Warforged, and oh, can I also be like a weird, can I be like a prototype Warforged that was some sort of like special unit used for a certain thing? And then from there, I expanded in the background. Somewhat, I talked to Isaiah, and also in the background, I sort of expanded out the whole Warforged thing, because I was like, all right, now that Isaiah's coming to me with this, obviously I need to make this more important. Whereas it was going to be a thing before, but maybe not at the forefront. Now it's like really at the forefront. And, you know, I mean, I expanded out, like, how do their Warforged brains work? And, like, what were they built for specifically? And, like, what are they doing now? And, like, when they were, you know, why are they different from the way they were when they were built? And, like, there's all this shit of sort of built out from that. And that's when you get that good, juicy collaboration in particular, is, like, if you're a player and you latch on to some little thing that your GM mentioned or said in their world building notes or something like that, and you go, cool, I'm just gonna like glom onto that and go to town. And usually, I feel like this has that same. I feel like we're assuming the same thing we did, Isaiah, when we talked about the like making a successful character situation. We're assuming the GM is cooperating.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah. But usually, if you as a player latch on to something that your GM mentioned in their like setting / world building notes, or they mentioned in session 0 or whatever, if you glom onto something like from there, they're gonna be more encouraged to let you go buck wild, because they were interested in it because they mentioned it and they thought about it, and then you're showing interest in it. So now you have all these ideas for the thing they were interested in. They're probably gonna let you go crazy. So Isaiah being like, I want to do some Warforged stuff, I was more inclined to do. Whereas if Isaiah had been like, I don't know, can I play a Vidalcan? I would have been like, nah, I don't know about that one, Chief, because the Vidalcans are weird and I didn't want them in my setting, you know? Because they're a weird Magic the Gathering, very specific kind of thing.
I was thinking it's because they're strange, like magical
experiments,
super geniuses.
Yeah. I mean, that is also true.
Sometimes have 3 fingers, sometimes have 6 fingers, sometimes have 4 fingers. Who knows?
Sometimes have crab claws built into their spine.
We love inconsistencies.
Oh no, sorry, that's the Simic hybrid. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
The Vidalcans are a different thing. The Vidalcans are weird, and the Simic hybrids are weird, and I didn't want either of them. But you know.
Well, Simic hybrids are. I feel like it's really easy to justify a Simic hybrid in most settings, right? It's like, I'm a weird science experiment.
Simic hybrid.
I got crab claws.
Yes.
And people are like,
yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's ways. The Simic hybrids probably slot in a little bit easier, but they're still pretty out there in terms of tone. And if you're not on board for that tone, it's going to be, you know, weird.
Yeah. No, I get it. Some characters are better off not being specific races due to tone, like plasmoids.
Yeah,
maybe
plasmoids.
maybe not fit for everything, you know.
You speak,
Fucking
do not speak ill of my slime
plasmoids.
people.
You're telling me in my grimdark game I can't be an ooze person?
I
with
didn't
big
say
titties,
no,
like come on, get out.
Hell yeah, dude.
Maybe no big titties. Maybe
Big titty blood
no
for the
dick.
blood gods.
Humongous titties because we're grimdark.
Wait, big titty blood for the blood. That sounds gross.
Yeah, I don't want to continue down that train of thought.
Just
I had
squeeze and
thoughts.
just shoots out like
No.
hydropump.
Oh, stop! Oh God!
Matt, I think we need to take away the talking stick from Matt. It's
Yeah.
so we're
Yeah.
Nah, my sticker.
revoked.
Talking stick revoked.
No stick for Matt. Take it away.
Shake my goddamn head.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I'll show you the darkness. The door to darkness.
Ooh, shit.
Darkness
What is this, Kingdom Hearts 3?
Or the
is
darkness?
eternal.
Plumber ever give you?
Can't believe you done this.
Sorry, what?
I think it's time for me to play Kingdom Hearts 2 again.
Yeah. Loading it up right now.
All right.
All right, guys, it was good recording with you. I'll be back in.
I'm gonna go
yes.
fuck up Zemnis.
Yeah.
But guys, you didn't bring up the best game in the series, Kingdom Hearts 3. What happened
What?
to
Wait,
They
that
didn't
game
make
came
it
out?
3, Isaiah.
I thought that was just the Royal Rumble edition of 2.
It's WWE SmackDown Hearts.
that? Jesus Christ.
Am I wrong? Tell me I'm
You're
wrong.
not. You're not, and it makes me deeply upset.
Yeah. Anyway, Isaiah, here's the talking stick.
Bro, I don't even know. This has gone so many places. I don't know what to do anymore.
I'm trying to think. I do. Oh, sorry. No.
No,
What were you gonna say?
I mean, I guess I did kind of want to talk about the mechanics thing a little bit. Like, I know that Josh gave a little bit of like an answer on that. And I can't say that I've ever done it, but I was sort of thinking like, have you guys been seen situations where it's happened other than like, you know, Josh putting out the occasional and odd survey for things that like we might be willing to implement? Has there ever been a situation where a player's like, oh, I want to see, or I like, what about this thing? Or what if we used hero point, or, you know, hero points, like the 5e version of like narrative declarations, or like the mana system, shit like that.
I mean, for both listening and Matt, because Matt, I don't think knows what you're talking about. You want to explain the survey thing you were just referring to?
Oh yeah, I mean, Josh gave us a survey for the like stuff that came out for the D&D 5.5 final chapter prologue edition.
Ultimate Super
Hypermax.
Suplex Hyper
Yeah.
Turbo Edition. Yeah, I put out a survey being like which rules from the one D&D playtest do we actually want to implement, and had my players vote.
All right, you know, you saying that just like made my brain hurt because I knew you were saying the one D&D as like the title.
Yeah.
But it also referred to one D&D playset as in there was a singular D&D playset or playtest.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hold back the one D&D's not so bad.
Yeah, man, it's almost like the name fucking sucks.
It hurts.
That was the one thing I forgot to add in my survey when I did
The name
them.
sucks.
Name it this.
Yeah,
They're
I
not
forgot
gonna-
to
they're
add.
not-
Please do not use.
They're-
I know it's working title. Hopefully,
They're not
Is,
gonna rename
is the
it.
survey still up?
No.
I don't know.
Oh, I forgot to
I
fill it
hope they
out.
rename it.
No, the survey is
I
not
wanted
still
to. I was one of the people who's like, do the fucking survey, and then it completely slipped my mind. I felt like such a jackass. I was maybe I could still
I'm
do
pretty
it.
sure I was dying when the survey was around. So
I think
know.
you were. I think you had the coof.
Yeah.
it's the coof.
Oh wait, maybe the
It was a good
survey
time.
is still up. Oh shit,
definitely
the
gotta
survey's still up for 5 more days.
All right, I
Oh,
definitely got
nice.
to do that then.
Oh shit!
Yeah, 5 days.
Hey,
I was gonna say, hey, if you haven't done it, you know, go and do it, listeners. But it'll be gone.
It'll be gone by the
you
time
hear
this one's
I'll
up.
say by the time this is
Yeah.
out, yeah.
Well, it's fine. We'll put out a tweet.
I mean, maybe.
Yes.
If he remembers.
If I remember.
Like, I think another
Shake
good,
my head.
like, I guess a good example of mechanics, sort of, was in the before times. That game that preceded Wildmount, we all got personalized items, or not, sorry, like evolving magic items. And the one thing that I liked the idea, but the one thing I didn't really agree with is we didn't really have a say in what they were or how they worked or how to evolve them. Like, we just gave the GM like our backstory and he would make them for us.
Yeah.
And that was kind of part of that whole, like, I think I told this story once. Actually, no, I don't think I did. That GM was really big on the gotcha mentality of like the like everything's a gamble. So I very distinctly remember we got an item that was kind of like a wild magic thing. And we traded that item in, and I was given like the only item that I could get from that magic vendor was a Rod of Wonders, which is a random chance table item. And I was like, so I feel like you may have misunderstood the reason why I didn't want this item. Yeah, there was 4 gambling type items in that game by the time we got that Rod of Wonders, and I was just like not vibing. But as the game went on, and like some characters just didn't level their items up at all because they like weren't hitting the prereq. Like for some people, it was like, oh, use this ability a certain amount of times, or like pass a certain number of like persuasion checks, or one like mine acted kind of like a paladin oath where I had to pacify like as a college star, right? You have like that second soul, and I had to follow that soul's tenets a certain amount of times, like agree with it basically. So as the game went on, the GM would sort of like start tailoring them to our characters just so we could get some use out of them. So like I remember at one point I was like, oh well, my character's whole thing is he's like developing weird force powers because he has a ghost. Could we like maybe if we like alter the item to maybe work like a certain way, or like, you know, maybe have it the prereq change to more of like a trying to keep this now several voices of his head in check as opposed to just agreeing with one of them, you know, because that did end up affecting mechanics, right? Like it would literally affect how the characters progressed.
Right.
So I did like that aspect. It was a little rocky at the start, but I think it ended in a really interesting way.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
Matt, what?
No, what were you gonna say, Josh?
Well, so that's a tricky one. Because you're like, oh, we didn't really get to decide, you know, how to level them up or what they did, right? And that's that tricky scenario where, in terms of, because this is a very specific type of collaboration, right? The magic item. This is a big one because there's a lot of there's a lot of ways you could kind of go about this, right? Because a lot of players will look at the magic items in like the DMG or whatever, or in Tasha's or, you know, wherever, and say, I want that. And then they will tell the GM, me want this. And then the GM says, okay, I will take that into consideration. And then the GM thinks about it and eventually at some point down the road gives you the item. Player says, I want a flame tongue. GM says, okay. When they hit level, 8 or whatever, and they go into the dungeon of the fire giant forge, they're gonna find a flame tongue. Shit like that. That's one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is to not ask your players, or kind of ignore, I shouldn't say ignore, but like basically not get any information from your players directly and sort of interpret what they might want based on how they play and what class they are, blah, blah, blah. So for example, you're like, oh, well, I have a paladin in the game. He's gonna want a Holy Avenger at some point, so I'm just gonna throw a Holy Avenger at them eventually. I have a wizard in the game. He's gonna want an Astromancy archive at some point, probably because he's a divination wizard, so I'm gonna put that in one of the dungeons. You just sort of decide.
Right.
That is obviously not really collaborating beyond just sort of looking at what they're playing. Whereas the first scenario is very minor collaboration, right? Like, because you're not going too crazy, because the player's just, I would like this thing, and then you as the GM are deciding, okay, I'll give it to you at some point. That's very minor collaboration. Then you have the other scenario where the player's like...
Real quick. I'm sorry. Matt, I'm sorry. This whole time I've just imagined you surprised Pikachu as he's talking about this.
Why?
Because Matt's going through this situation right now in his game.
Oh, in what way?
No, I don't want to bring it up, honestly.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a very similar situation that we were talking about before we were recording. It's very funny.
Okay, I see. And so you have sort of scenario number 3, which is like, GM, I want this item for this reason, and I would like, can I get it now-ish or soon or by a certain level? You're really specific with it. And then you and the GM kind of work back and forth to decide, okay, well, maybe you can't have it at this level, maybe the next level, or you can't get it here, but maybe here, or I'll give it to you soon, but not right now, and then you start doing that. And that's a lot of back and forth collaborating, figuring it out. The problem with the evolving magic items, which is a thing that a lot of people like to do, is so first of all, you have to decide what evolves them. Because on one hand, you can not tell the players, and then the players figure it out as they go, and that has a certain cool mystique to it, right? Because they're magic items, I think they generally should have a mystique to them. But you might come up with an idea that the player doesn't really like that much, or isn't super into, or doesn't just do it very often or whatever, so they don't get their evolving magic, like their magic item does not evolve. So there's that problem. The other option is, player, what would you like? I would like my sword to become a flame tongue, and I would like to upgrade it to a flame tongue by collecting the souls of fire elementals. All right, cool. So we can do that very directly, but now the mystique is gone, and it's just the player knows you're going to throw fire elementals on them, and they know when you do that they should go after the fire elemental. Which is...
I feel like we had this conversation in another episode.
We did this a little bit talking about magic items, Yeah. And then, so there's pros and cons to that, and then you get into the situation of what magic items do you give them while it evolves? Again, do you just kind of interpret what they want based on the kind of character they are? Do you ask them what they want it to evolve into? Do you let them decide? Right? Like, there's kind of pros and cons to all of them, so it requires a lot. There's no perfect answer.
No, I agree. I'm not. Let me specify. I'm really not shitting on the way it was done. Like, I did disagree with some aspects of it. Like,
but it's hard, is what I'm saying. It's really difficult.
No. Like, believe me, I understand, because I'm doing it right now in my game. Right, like I'm trying to build my characters custom loot for their backstories and shit like that.
Right.
So like, I'm never gonna shit on someone for doing it. The only thing I would say is the few things that happened that I didn't really agree with was some of the items were sort of built anathema to the player's class. Right, so like a caster getting into close quarters combat.
Okay.
Where I was like, I understand the idea, but like the practicality of, like, if you give a wizard like a magic rapier, right, and they're not a blade singer, well, it's like, well, they don't have cool. The magic item gives you proficiency with it automatically, but a player is not gonna. A wizard's not gonna take center stage if they absolutely do not need to.
Right.
And if the item's prereq is you need to kill with that sword, the chances of that happening are really low.
Yes,
right?
Chance.
So if yours is super low versus a character's who's like, oh yeah, just kill, like give the barbarian an axe and his prereq is kill with your axe, that barbarian's gonna get a crazy amount of upgrades to his weapon before the wizard gets one.
Yeah, the wizard's kind of dicked in that scenario.
Yeah, and if you don't at least give a hint as to what your item does, because you don't have to tell people, right? Like, I agree with the whole mystique aspect, because that's really interesting, right? It's like, oh, well, I have a connection with this thing and I don't really know how to do it, but I know that I can.
Yeah.
Figuring it out is part of the fun, but if there's no, like, again, if it's this situation where it's a wizard and your thing is like a rapier and you walk up and you whack somebody with it, you're like, nothing happened. Because if your thing's a rapier and it's like, oh, use it to, it's like a anti-magic rapier, so you have to try to break through spells with it, that is not at all gonna be clear, right? Like, you're just gonna be fucking confused as shit.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta, the best way to make the mystique thing work is like, yeah, you have a mystique, but you have to, when the player does the correct thing, you have to hint at it somehow. Like, yes, you are doing the thing you're supposed to do. You know, don't necessarily just tell them, but maybe nudge them. You know?
Yeah, like like in my old campaign, I had something similar. The evolving magic items, I made them the MacGuffins. They're, you know, based on each of the chromatic dragons, and they leveled up with the players. But I kind of did what, you know, Isaiah with in your game, what your GM did was basically like I made the items. I had my idea. I told the players some stuff, or I would ask them like, "Hey, what would you think about this?" and get their kind of like ideas on it. But I guess when it comes like certain things, I didn't really. Not that I didn't want the collaboration, but like I had my own like idea for it, and I was like, if I get the player collaboration involvement with it, it might, I don't want to say muddy it.
No,
but
you're
they
right.
might
It
like
can, yeah.
not, yeah.
Yeah, no, totally can.
They might not get it. So, like, was it? I think I had like, I talked to one of the players while making one of the items because I wanted each item to be like a different like kind of weapon thing. And when I was explaining like how the weapon works, the player did not get it, and they were just like, "Well, what if it did this, this, and this?" And after that, I was like, "All right, never mind. I'm just gonna do my own thing."
Yeah, that's always rough.
Yeah, it's like a there's no like correct answer to the situation, so you got to kind of play it out, figure out what your need for your campaign might be, figure out what the vibe you're going for. You know, like with my campaign, I kind of cheated because I gave my players the magic item, and then I was like, you can change it into any weapon you want. Only once.
I did the same. I did only once. Oh shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was like, when you get this magic, like for example, Sam got a bow, and then he turned it into a rapier. But I was like, you can only do it the one time though. Like it's locked in after that. But
Oh shit. Yeah, I made mine. I'm like, it could be whatever weapon you want. And I'm like, it changes like the is it the Hexblade that does the thing that they can change any weapon to whatever?
yeah, the Hexblade has the packed weapon.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
basically just did
Spawn a
that.
weapon.
I was just like,
Oh, actually, no, that's not a Hexblade thing. Sorry, it's a it's just a pack.
blade.
It's just packed to the
it's a
blade.
pack weapon. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and it's not
warlock.
that they can transform a weapon.
They make a weapon.
They make a weapon out of warlock energy. Smiley face.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, take a shot for every time Isaiah brings up post-apocalypse.
Uh-huh.
That is something I really liked about the personalized item system in Hellscapes, because it's like, oh, do you like all the mods, but you hate, like, you know, it's like, oh, but you're a rogue adjacent, so there's no reason for you to use a great axe. You could just rip the mods off that bitch and put it on a machete, which is a dex weapon. So you can sort of change it to whatever you want.
I mean, the funny thing is like you can do that in a fantasy game too. It's just, you know, take it to the local wizard and he turns it into from a sword to a mace. You know, like
Yeah,
totally
that's
still
one of those.
options.
That's one of those things where it's like, yes, correct, but like it's like that's unfortunately one of those things where it's like it's not codified, so the GM could say no. You know, it's that annoying bullshit.
No, I'm saying if you're the GM,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
allow that. You know, you can do that pretty easily.
Yeah.
If
In,
you're the player asking for it, oh, that's a, you know,
Yeah. Well, in Storm
depends.
King's Thunder, I because one of the things I originally wanted the Wizard Lizard to do was to be a
Lizard
magic
Wizard.
item like
Every
maker.
time you say it, it fucking gets me.
I wanted him to be like, well, lizard folk, they make like, you know, they make weapons and stuff out of animal parts, so why can't I make magic items out of like a dead squirrel carcass or whatever for the memes? And one of the things I wanted to talk to the GM, like we looked up, and it used to be in the spell in like older editions, was switching enchantments on items.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's not really a rule for it, but like we can work on it. And we ended up homebrewing a spell. And unfortunately, because shit happened in Storm King's Thunder, I never ended up getting to do it because I didn't have enough time to make magic items. So I just was like, you know what, when this character retires, he'll invent the spell and then start fucking swapping enchantments on items and stuff. But yeah, it's not normally a thing in the game.
Yeah,
which is
that's
annoying.
one of those things where the game used to do a lot more and then just kind of stopped.
Oh, because they were, again, simplifying. And then now it's like
That's
you
not
can always
even-
look it up.
That's not even really simplifying though. You're just straight up taking things away, right? Like
Yeah. The
simplifying.
less mechanics you have, the simpler it is to run.
yeah,
Look at Spelljammer, Adventures in Space, out
Yeah,
now
I
on
mean-
Amazon.
yeah, I
Oh
guess.
my god.
When I think of, the simplifying thing to me is usually like taking an existing mechanic and focusing it in and streamlining it, but that's just removing shit entirely, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
God, I hate that. God damn it, Matt. Why'd you bring up Spelljammer?
Sorry, people out there, Spelljammer isn't actually bad. I just like memeing on it.
I will say it's bad. I'm mad about it.
Yeah, it is.
I'll say it's bad.
It's a mixed bag.
I don't give a fuck.
I I'll ask you guys this because I have a mechanic thing, but I'm not sure if it actually is a mechanic thing. So in one of like their earlier episodes, in the earlier episodes, I mentioned that my players, like I gave them like right in the beginning of the 3-year campaign, I gave them a pet Drake, like a black Drake, because I'm like I love dragons, and drakes are basically just dragon guard dogs. So I'm like, fuck it, yeah. And the players kept it and they raised it. But the players also want, of course, they used it in combat. And as the game progressed and they got higher levels, the Drake would get one shot by so many things. And so me and a couple of the players, we all kind of like round tabled, like, we tried at first adding levels to it, like it says in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and that just made it a whole nother character, and it was fucking way too complicated. And so finally, it was going to be one of these things where like, oh no, are we going to have to leave the dog at the stronghold? Are we going to have to retire the doggo? And that's when the sidekick UA came out. And we ended up just switching it out to that, and it made our life so much easier. So is that like, does that kind of count as like a mechanical thing? Because it was like an NPC they used in combat, for a while, and it was struggling, and then we found a fix for it thanks to the UA.
Yeah, but I'd say that's part of it, right? Like you are literally collaborating, you're working together to try to solve a mechanical solution. So yeah, I'd say so.
I was unclear on the question, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you meant.
Yeah, because like again, it was one of those things, because there's the joke that like all DMs like to kill players like familiars and pets and stuff, and it's like, no, they're just unfortunately they're easy to kill and they're in the way. I'm sorry. And so for me, it's like I literally gave them the dragon dog, and I'm like, man, I really don't want to kill this thing. I'm gonna feel like such a dick. But as they get higher levels, NPCs, unless you use those sidekick rules, they fully fleshed them out in Tasha's. Yeah, NPCs will just get murdered.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't really meant to, be there that long,
the entire
right?
time.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And yes,
the fucking thing lasted the whole campaign, all the way to 20. And
yeah, the adding class levels to them thing seems like a fun idea, and then you realize they don't really tell you how to do it beyond.
It was such it was such a headache.
Basically, all they said was, just give them some barbarian levels and then give them rage. You're like, okay, anything else? What about their health? What about their damage scaling? What about this? And you're like, I don't know. So,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a terrible idea if you can make it work. Yeah.
See, does anybody else got any thoughts?
No thoughts, head empty.
Give stick to Isaiah.
Why? Why do you keep giving the fucking stick to me?
Because you're the one hosting. What do you mean?
God damn it! I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go home.
You're supposed to be running the show.
I mean,
I tried running the show and I got derailed every 4 seconds.
That's not true.
At the start, at least.
Trying to think of like anything else. I have like more like not mechanic stuff, but like world building shit. Like you were mentioning the Thieves Guild thing.
Yeah.
In the last campaign, one of my players was like, "Hey, I wanna be from like a gang of like bandits or whatever. Like, can I?" No. He gave me a name. He told me the leader. He told me why the leader wants him dead, and then I basically took that and made the game. And I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's really collaborative. If the player just gave me like 3 pieces of information, and I took that information and just built this whole like Thieves Guild out of it. But
I would say that's it to a very minor degree. Yeah, that's it. Like that's At that point, that's sort of just like GM world building, but there is a hint of collaboration in it. Yeah.
This isn't the world building episode, Matt. Come on.
Well, he literally is like, collabing and world building. It's in the title.
It's in the
Yeah, I
name.
mean, oh,
It's
excuse
in the
me.
subject matter.
I do have a strange habit of doing these kinds of episodes because I mostly because I just want to know. Like, I want to know how other people do the thing because I'm doing the thing currently, and I'm like, am I doing this right? And the answer is, there's no way of doing it wrong other than being an asshole. So it's kind of a moot point, but it's still a point I'm interested in.
Yeah, wrong is just being a shit.
Yeah, just don't be a dick and you're good.
Just don't be a dickhead, forehead. Problem solved.
This isn't. This is kind of related. So, because I thought you'd find this funny, Josh. So for you other two, me and him are doing a one shot in about a week and a half. And in that one shot, I'm playing like it's sort of like a spacefaring, kind of like Outer Worlds / like Fallout-y courier job game. And I'm playing
the word
like
you're
an
looking for is sci-fi.
Yeah, but like I meant for like the real vibe of it is like
I know, I'm just fucking with you.
we're like space couriers. And I'm whole ass. I'm playing an android that's supposed to look like an alien race, and I'm going out of my way to make the alien race so I can send it to the GM and be like, "This is the people that my character's like supposed to be replicating." I don't know if he'll be like cool or if he'll just toss it over his shoulder and be like, "Not using this shit." But
They're like, big Cthulhu-like monster, like giant, tentacles all over, big dome head, some shit.
No.
Looks at you, chrome dome, robot man, fucking robot tentacles. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, no, not quite. Not
No.
quite that extreme.
no,
little more
the
reasonable
character
than
I'm
that.
playing. Yeah, the character I'm playing is like
Space
kind
elf.
of like it's like a space elf, like a dark elf in space. So like I already have a name for them. I'm like thinking about how long they'd live, what would be like their culture and their like physical traits. I'm basically designing two characters in one.
Nice.
For the character I'm supposed to be playing, and then the character that my character really is. It's very funny. I just like that's me doing like fucking your boy at it again.
I was gonna say, yeah, this
Back on his bullshit.
this goes back to you being a very proactive player, Isaiah. And
Mr.
again,
Dungeon Master, what if I was two characters, actually?
yeah,
I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've played in a party full of two characters each, and it got
Jesus.
crazy.
Sheesh. That is
Yeah, no,
that is Omega Sheesh.
yeah, dude, like
sounds
the
fun
first
after a
20
point.
minutes were actual playing the game, and then the other 4.5 hours was just combat because everybody had to roll this shit twice.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, no, I'm
Fuck.
good.
it was
Yeah,
it was
no, what the
wild.
fuck?
Like from what this was like 6 years ago, but I distinctly remember me being like, so I just get to play this game with myself. Perfect. I can strategize. now."
Fantastic.
Yeah, I know. Like, just very distinctly, like one player was kind of like, or at least one or two players was really struggling. But I was like, oh, this is great. All right, so I'll use this character. I set up this buff and this ability that locks the character down, so I can run up and then flank with myself, and then I can use I don't have to reckless attack. And look, I have a brutal critical too. And I just sat there being a shit. Like, it's like, yeah, playing a fighter that's a tank and a fucking barbarian that's a powerhouse.
Shit.
Yeah, I would like. That's really what I was doing. I was just being a shit. Like,
You just take both characters, put them on each other's shoulders, like, we are the mega person.
yeah, I was playing two Giga Chad characters. Like one was like a almost 8 foot tall tiefling
Holy
knight fighter with like a fucking gun loaded. It was surprise, it was the Fire Emblem game, and it was the spear is like the general spears from Fire Emblem where they just shoot out like fucking bazookas. Like the general takes a step back, and then he takes a step forward, and then he thrusts the lance out, but it just fires like a gun, and it's attached to a chain. So I had that thing, so I could pin people like to the ground and keep them in place, and they were considered restrained, and then my barbarian would run up and just go monkey on them. It was so good.
Isaiah, I really hope, I'm really excited to see your next debut character, 3 kobolds in a trench coat.
I would
God,
be
I wanna
Each
lying.
of
do
them
that
being
so
a different
bad.
class.
I would
Is
be
the thing
fucking
different?
lying.
Wait, so like, would you play it like the kobold on top changes, and then that's the class that you're playing
Yeah,
that day.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
That's fucking
I
hilarious.
actually was thinking, how would I do 3 kobolds in a trench coat?
Yeah.
Like, not even a month ago, because I went on Middle Finger and Vecna and saw that was a thing, and I was like,
Fuck. Yeah.
this is dangerous.
Yeah. You have the rogue kobold, the fighter kobold, and the wizard kobold, and whichever one's on top is the kobold you're playing. But you have to level them all up every time because you
Yeah,
need to be
yeah, yeah.
ready.
But also like you could play the kobolds and be like, I don't remember that. When did that happen? You know?
It's an action to switch between your kobolds.
Okay, no, real shit. We're just gonna start devolving from this topic, I guess. I was really thinking. I've spent the last 3 or so days thinking, in 5e, of course, how you could do like an install system, and what I mean is like kind of like Magical Girl shit.
No, you are not trying to be out here like, can I put Dragon install in 5e?
No, not like that. But it's like
That's what an
So
install system means.
no, I meant in like the Maho Shoujo, like your card gives you a class situation. So the idea of like, if all the players are like generic physical fighter sidekicks, right? Like they can swing a sword, maybe. And the way that you like use your class abilities is like your character would you get like a deck of cards kind of, or you have to find them throughout the game. And then one character can like install their class into themselves, and then they are that class for that fight or until they take a long rest and they lose that card. So each player, it'd be a lot of work, right? 'Cause
Man, I
each
love
player.
Digimon.
Yo, are you really
Fucking
out here
Frontier.
trying to do Pokemon plus Dragon install?
No, it's just Digimon Frontier or Prismalia.
Oh yeah, Digimon
Yeah,
Frontier.
yeah,
Yeah, it's Digimon Frontier. It's
Yeah,
exactly
it
what
would.
you
Yeah,
do.
it would. Well, more like it'd be like Digimon Tamers, basically. Yeah.
You have
Oh,
your,
that too.
you have
Yeah.
you have your human Digimon, your beast Digimon, then your fusion Digimon for.
Yeah, that's literally because I was like,
yeah,
it would be really cool
Greymon,
if you were
War
playing like a
Greymon.
Persona style game, and the
Oh my
players had like
God.
their cards. So like the only thing that would suck, right, is that you would basically have to design a class for each player would have to have every single class.
But here's the thing though. You just collaborate with your players and determine what they can do. We brought it back.
You could, yeah, you could. And so I figured out. I think I figured out a way around it. Right.
Oh my
Each
God.
player has to play a different subclass, but you can all share the class sheet on Roll20.
Oh my
So
god.
you only have to make one of each
I'm-
class, but then you could put you can just duplicate that class over and then change out the subclasses and give it to each player. So it's like, like player A is getting the wizard card, player B is getting the barbarian card, and they swap it, and now they'll have 2 different subclasses, but you can't, and like, you could multi-class technically if you could get like duplications. Bro, this is all I've been thinking about at work.
Everybody, come back next time when Isaiah designs the JoJo stand system for 5e.
I already did. I'm playing a fucking stand user.
No, but
in
that's
Sam's
only
game.
But Isaiah, that's only one stand user. You're only playing Star Platinum. We have to make our Killer Queens, our Silver Chariots, the World. I mean, think of how many Reaver.
Did I tell you?
Shining
So I'm
Diamond, Crazy Diamond, whatever.
No, Crazy Diamond,
Crazy
sir.
Diamond,
Don't
I'm
you
sorry.
use this
I'm
fucking
sorry. I'm
localization
sorry.
bullshit with
We got
me.
we got the hand. Look at all the options. You got to make more.
I told you, right? Like, because I'm playing a changeling astral self. Each of my changelings forms has their own permutation of their stand.
But you have to make different stand powers for each of them too, right? Because I mean, Star Platinum isn't the same as Hermit Purple. Like you got to make different ones.
Like, I think about sometimes, Isaiah, why are you like this?
Why
do you do all this extra work?
Yeah,
I don't-
it's I'm just saying.
It brings
Man,
me
what a-
such fucking pain in my pecco because
just
I'm looking
saying.
at work like, well, how would their fighting styles be different?
uh-huh.
Would my main character use Baji Kwan, and then like maybe the one mask would switch to like Jeet Kune Do, and the one that's like a street boxer?
Yeah,
Just
how do you mechanically? How do you represent the differences between Star Platinum and Silver Chariot? This is the real.
Yeah.
These are the real questions.
Yes. These are real good collaborations.
Yeah,
we got
yeah,
going
yeah.
here, guys.
It's craziness.
Collaboration between D&D and JoJo.
I
Collaboration
made a
between
magic
D&D.
system. God damn it, for a wizard.
I'm deep in the JoJo weeds right now, so everything's a JoJo reference. Remember, Sam?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
I do remember. I do, in fact, remember.
I'm just that cat 24/7 now.
Wait, that cat? Is that a JoJo reference? Are you referencing that cat?
No,
I don't think he's seen the cat yet.
Have
He's
you
not
not
that far in
seen
the
the
park.
cat?
No, he has not seen the cat. No, but
oh no, I don't. Okay, I'm talking about the gif of the cat.
oh no, there's a cat in JoJo. Don't you worry.
Oh,
The vibrating cat that's just trying not to say it's a JoJo reference.
Yeah.
fucking Christ. Isaiah, you still got that talkie stick?
I do. No, don't worry. I've got other. What are some other weird things that I've been fucking thinking about for no other real reason than?
Collaboration.
I feel like we should wrap this up. We're getting in a weird place.
No. We've got 20 minutes left, and I'm gonna use
We
them.
don't
God
have
damn
to
it!
use them. We can just wrap up now.
Says who?
Oh God.
It just hits the end recording button.
Oh fuck.
All right, well, okay. Here. Okay. I'll pose a genuine question. Has there ever been a situation or a game where you had an idea that you were like, oh, I think the game would be either like your experience would be better, or you think it would be more interesting from like a world building or mechanical perspective if you like brought forth an idea to your GM? Have you pulled an Isaiah recently?
Yeah.
Mechanically, no. Maybe lore-wise, I don't know. The cult could have been pretty interesting with Stars with that number, but like that got
out of hand.
I mean, listen, space strippers did not need to be procured.
That
but
wasn't
they
even
were.
the weirdest part.
No, there was a lot of things that went wild. Listen, again, I washed my hands of all of that. My character was like, "Hey guys, you should." Okay, you're doing it already.
Yeah.
I literally cannot stop you. You are my employers. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you know, like, I will say a problem. Not a what? I need to hold on. I need to rework. That was that sentence went down the shitter. The fuck was I even thinking?
He's going back.
I don't.
Roll it back.
I do remember one time I was playing an Apocalypse World game, and I was a player, and I was because Apocalypse World doesn't tell you what the psychic like it mentions the psychic maelstrom as a thing, but very specifically it leaves it open. So I was positing to my GM a bunch of ideas about the maelstrom and why psychic people are a thing, but that game didn't go anywhere. And yeah, I mean, most of the, like, I'm trying to, I'm a player so rarely that like I can't really think of any time I've pulled an Isaiah. I did a little bit when I played Shadowrun, but not really. That one was pretty straightforward. I tend to play characters that are intentionally not gonna shake things up, so the GM can just throw me wherever the fuck they feel like it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't like to be the shaking it up person or the person that like comes in with like a new idea very often, unless I feel very strongly about it for some reason. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think. I guess with Haven a little bit, I posited some stuff, but very minor. Most of that was me just being like, this is a thing, I don't know why, and then Sam said this is why, and I said okay. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, because like there was a little bit of that with Haven's backstory, but very minor. Yeah, I can't really think of any big Isaiah maneuvers. I don't know. Matt,
what you got?
I mean, not big movers, like mostly like, Matingo. It was the, there's a guy, he killed my dad, I want to go after him, the end.
Yeah,
it's like, all right,
which is
simple.
That's a small one, yeah.
A small one. Icewind Dale. I work for, I'm a warlock of a lich. He gives me magic. I give him weird souls. I don't know, whatever the fuck he wants. Ended up giving him control of a giant, nethery city. at the end of the game. So I guess that's like, I guess that was big, but it was also at the end of the game. So I
I feel
feel
like
like it counts.
warlocks always end up falling into that kind of role too. Like you just
Yeah.
play a warlock and
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I have a patron, and then the DM goes, okay,
Do you though?
we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll see.
it's pretty, unless you just ignore the patron thing completely, it's pretty hard to not have it influence things in some way,
Yeah.
But also, I feel like if you're picking Warlock, part of the reason you're picking Warlock is because you want that to be a thing, like you want to have that effect. I feel like that's part of the point, right? Like it's the same reason you're picking Cleric. It means you're interested in the cosmology stuff, at least a little bit.
You're playing Warlock and you're not playing Gulak.
Yeah, well, even with Gulak though, you're then putting the energy into the setting that is there's a Cthulhu monster out there somewhere, right?
Or something like that.
Yeah, you're putting something
that.
like that out there, even if you don't really interact with it. You're still creating its existence by picking Gulak. So,
Damn. Gulaks are just kids who waited for the dad to come home with milk.
wow. I will say, Jesus. I will say something
Wait,
that's
no, fuck you. You can't go dark like an hour and a half ago and then be like, Jesus, now? Mine was nowhere near as bad as yours.
yeah, maybe that's I plead the fifth. I will say something that's really funny, Isaiah. Your Isaiah maneuvers are, because that's TM, that's what we're calling it now. The Isaiah maneuver.
Yeah.
The Isaiah maneuver sometimes is so strong that you have done it to me with not even in a game. Because your idea of a cleric who creates their own god into the universe via their own hype is now
Hell yeah.
cemented in my brain that I want that to be a thing at some point in one of my games.
Yo,
I don't know how.
literally, all right, Lucy, hold on. So I know what we were talking about 2 weeks ago. I understand what you're saying. I was talking to someone while we were doing the cleric episode, mid-episode, being like, what are your thoughts on this? While other people were like having their own thoughts. And he was like, I kind of like the idea of your own hype being your cleric. And I was like, well, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of having a god, me forgetting that I talked about making your own god, and now I can look like an asshole.
Yes, you've mentioned that a couple of times. Because I distinctly remember us having a conversation where it's like, oh yeah, and the first time that cleric casts divine intervention, they just birth their god into existence, like they make a new one out of nowhere.
I do remember saying that.
Yeah.
And in an effort to not seem like, a liar, I still do agree with this statement.
Like a liar.
Like a liar. I do still actually agree with that statement. I you know what it is that I've hit the point as a player and as a content creator and as a GM where I'm going back, I'm looking at like the OGs, right? Like the things that made the tropes and being like, those were good for a reason. And I'm sure at some point I'm going to cycle back to like, I want to do my own groundbreaking. I don't want to say groundbreaking because that's bullshit. But I want to go back to like, what if I tried something different? Like, I'm sure I'll go back to that, but I'm at the I don't know. Clerics praising their god is pretty cool, I think.
You've looped all the way back around.
I will, yeah, at some point. Very soon, I feel.
Well. Anyway.
Damn. Put on a shirt, hashtag the Isaiah maneuver.
The Isaiah maneuver, yeah.
Which includes, but is not limited to throwing your GM for a complete fucking loop.
Very true.
Like the sack of flour grenade.
What a time.
I'm not sorry.
Anyway, you want that talkie stick back?
I've been using the talkie stick the whole goddamn time.
I was just holding it.
This
Here you go.
motherfucker
I'm giving it back to you now.
I'm gonna snap this shit in half over my knee, except my knee's fucked up right now, and I don't want to do that because I would hurt.
Just use the other knee.
Both my knees hurt.
Just
Look, you
use
don't
your third
understand. God damn, I don't think I'd have to unlock that power so soon. I am becoming an amalgam of all my friends, because now I've got your formerly fucked up back. I've got fucked up knees thanks to Sam.
You're welcome.
Or not thanks to
I got
Sam.
rid of those.
I've got Sam's fucked up knees.
Matt, what are you giving Isaiah?
I don't know.
His ability to forego things that were
I was
just
going to
told
say
him.
his memory.
I love that fucking. What was that from Yakuza, Sam? Where it's like, I was born with. I had given a choice. I
Yes.
remember you're a big dick. What'd you choose? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Just taking on the traits of all my friends.
You're welcome.
Hell
I
yeah.
got rid of my bad knees.
Oh, geez. Oh, thanks, bud.
You're welcome.
I fucked up my rotator cuff and my fucking right tricep at the gym this week, so I'm just like, oh, great.
Oh shit.
Just falling apart at the fucking seams.
Just don't.
And I still can.
Yeah, just stop. Yeah,
Oh,
just stop doing it.
yeah, of course.
Stop falling apart. Come on.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
I missed Sam's machine gun yes and no's. It's like Sam be like, have you seen this? Oh yeah, you mean that thing? He's like, yeah. It's almost as good as Sam's. All right, okay.
All right, listen.
All right,
listen.
okay. All right, listen. All right, okay. Sorry, no, you have to. I'm not gonna slam my desk for Brett's sake, but there's a whole lot of slamming your desk involved.
Listen.
Uh-huh.
All right, listen.
God.
Yeah.
We have to put all these catchphrases on a shirt.
Yeah. All right.
Just a
Okay.
single
all right,
shirt,
all right,
though.
Listen, all right. Okay.
Just one shirt. It's just the
yeah,
Isaiah
yeah.
maneuver.
The
It
back
depends.
is just.
Yeah. Yep. I approve of this shirt decision.
We have a lot of shirts that we need to make.
We do.
Hell yeah, dude.
We do.
I still think our first merch should be Percy Glaxon. Like I need
of course.
if anyone's watched like Ben 10 Alien Force, I just imagine it looks like Albedo, just like red jacket, white hair, dual wielding desert eagles, and a katana.
God,
Of
I
course,
hate
the
that.
most important bit.
Hey, what?
I hate everything you just said.
It works, though.
What?
Christ.
It works.
No.
No?
No.
What
Yeah,
about?
we'll give him like Robin's hair from the OG
Yes.
Teen Titans
Please
anime.
stop. Oh my god. Beg of you, cease.
I see
Well,
nothing
remember,
wrong
the
with this.
original
Isaiah,
was just
close the
like,
door.
what if
Close the
Kakashi
door.
had black hair?
Put
and
the
that was
stick
it.
away.
Put the stick away?
stick
away.
We're
No, it's my
slamming the
stick.
door closed?
Isaiah,
Oh.
please.
But,
No.
but I'm the one who pulled out the
No,
stick.
call me Gary Busey with my Amazon Fire TV stick. I do what I want.
Oh, fuck Christ.
What the fuck?
Have you never seen that weird ass
No,
Gary
sorry,
Busey
close it.
commercial?
We can talk about this afterward. Close this out. We're at 2 hours. God damn it. Jesus Christ.
He's taking the stick, he is breaking it in half.
Yeah, no,
and
the
he's
stick's
throwing the
dead.
recording
Oh,
in
good.
the
At least it's
trash.
not my knees that are being destroyed on this.
Oh my god.
All right, y'all.
Y'all
That's
step
been
on
us.
your
It's
sticks
been
to
Sessions
break 'em?
Canceled. Thank you for this chaotic, potentially lackluster, mostly incomprehensible episode. If you want to follow us, links will be in the doobly-doo, but feel free to follow us on the Angry
description,
Bird app.
that's a description. That's what the doobly-doo means.
Yes, yeah. We've said doobly-doo like 15 times, and now you're giving...
I know. We need to stop stealing that.
No, stealing it from who? Everyone does it.
No, everyone does not do it. That is very specifically a Matt Colville thing.
No, it
a
is
couple
not.
YouTubers do it. Yeah. That's actually a YouTube thing they tell you to do, and no one actually calls it that until him.
Mr. Cobell. Oh, no, sorry, not Cobell. Mr. Colville. We're going to
bro.
be using that from now on.
Look.
Bro, chill.
Also, don't subscribe to our Netflix. We don't have one.
No, we do not have a Netflix.
I was told in my contract that we have a Netflix.
Oh yeah, our contract, like our totally lucrative Patreon that absolutely definitely exists that we were totally hiding from our editor, that totally real Patreon.
We do not have a Netflix, but we do have a YouTube, and you can subscribe to us there.
Yeah, we also do not have a Patreon yet.
No.
But yeah, feel free to follow us on Twitter, hit subscribe and ring-a-ding-ding that bell on the YouTube. Leave a comment, leave a like, do the things that help the algorithm. And try not to create your own gods in the warp, kids. It's not usually not good. Bad things happen, unless you're an Eldar, but that ended real bad. Anyway, that's been us. See you. Bye!